resume share here. George, background and situation report on Spicewood Airport and Pilots Association request for chain fence gate on easternmost portion of 20-foot easement crossing over Sky King taxi. George, I was hoping that you could give us just a sketch of the what the property looks like back there. And after that, I will bring up the request that we received. And I believe that we have the attorney who sent us that, and also Mr. Van Eman as well. So I think what we should do is get that information from George, look at that letter, ask for the attorney and for Mr. Van Eman's comments. We're not taking any action on this tonight. There's nothing, this isn't an actionable item. It's just an opportunity for us to get some information and decide, you know, where we're going or where we need to go with any of this, if anywhere at all. So anyway, that's to all of those who are concerned about this being another lawsuit, you know, some of those earlier comments, y'all are way ahead of where this is. This is that's the sky is falling type of view, and we are nowhere near that. And so what I'd like for you to do, George, if you would, is provide us with, you know, kind of a lay of the land on what you see back there in that part of the property.
Sure. Does everyone have a copy of this drawing that you sent us?
This is the
that shows the location.
Yeah, I think I pulled it up on screen just now, George.
Okay.
I haven't
so
seen
everyone
that.
can see that.
I'm not seeing it.
I'm not seeing it either.
Hang on just one second.
Yeah, it's still the agenda.
All right.
Okay, there you go.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay, there's a little lag there. I'm sorry.
Everybody sees it now?
Yep.
Good. So you can see the blue line stands out there, and that is the utility company's access road into the southern boundary of what was at one time about 10 acres and now is about 6 acres. And the southeasternmost end of that blue line is at the southern entry gate into the airport.
That's right here. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then that access road travels west about 550 feet and then turns north, and then it terminates at a 3/4 acre tract at its northern end. And right in the middle of the drawing in pink, it says Sky King Drive. Everybody sees that?
Yes.
And that's a taxiway that has grown over time. Before Mr. Van Eman started the Spicewood Airport Estates development, Sky King did not go down all the way to the blue line or to our access road. It went as far as there were hangars that had already been built along Sky King. And the westernmost hangar was the McCormick building there in the middle. Even though the Van Eman interests had utility buildings on their lots on the north side of Sky King. Where Sky King would be any rate, that 3/4 acre tract was the tract that the utility company agreed to provide to the POA in order for the POA to extend boat storage and boat trailer storage and utility uses like that. And actually, we maintain that road more for its access to that track than anything else. And then as hangars were built along Sky King Drive, then Sky King kept getting extended. Then when Van Eman started his construction there for his development, he improved that, and I don't really know the details about exactly how Sky King got extended down to the access road. My interest was primarily the utilities, the water and sewer lines, and so on. And Kern and I discussed those extensively over the period that they were under construction, but I don't know the details of how Sky King got extended. So it did not meet the access road until recently.
Okay.
Does that give you some context as to what we have there?
Yeah, I think that helps me. Any board members have any?
Yeah, I have a few questions. So the it's a 20-foot access road, 20-foot wide access road. Who owns the property that 20-foot access wide road is on?
We do.
So
We own the road.
And the extension from what's the pink part of Sky King Drive over to the road, who owns that? Where Sky King will expand to? Is that the part that was sold to the POA?
No.
Okay, who owns what would be the extension of Sky King Drive?
I
The
presume that
the various
airport
land.
does.
Okay.
Okay, so SPAE, Spicewood Airport Estates, then does not own the 20-foot wide access road. Do they have a easement? We talked to.
When you say the utility access road, are you talking about the blue line?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The utility company owns that blue line.
The WOWSC.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So does SPAE have a easement with WOWSC for that access road space? In other words, to build, concrete over it so the planes can go over it?
I really don't know the answer to that, Mike. I assume they do. All the surveys say access easement, and I assume that the airport and the airport, and I assume that now that is SAPA has that easement.
The only easement I saw was they granted WOWSC easement onto SPAE lots for, water and wastewater lines.
Yeah, that's entirely different. That's
standard
throughout
stuff.
the airport.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's standard stuff. But I didn't see anything in the documents that were provided. Maybe I missed it. Did anybody see that in the documents provided?
If I may speak, I think I can clear this up for all of you. This is
Yeah.
Please. Thank you.
okay. So that easement road was part of the land to the north that's marked WOWSC as access, just as George said. And prior to that land, any of that land being conveyed to WOWSC, that easement road was drawn out and established. And the Van Emens, which owned property right on Sky King there, those tracks A, B, C, D, and the Spicewood Airport Estates project, we own that property. And in our deeds, we have easement over that easement roadway, 0.533 acres, I believe it is. So we have, deeded access, and nobody can block that easement or impede it. And then going back to Sky King and how Sky King evolved. So back in 2003, we owned all of the land that's marked A, B, C, and D. And that's now A is owned by David Chapman, and B is owned by Dennis Cox, who he purchased it from Archie Contreras. And prior to McCormick being an owner in Whidden, those two lots were owned by Dana Martin. And so in concert, the Van Emens and Dana each installed Sky King taxiway, the asphalt taxiway, in 30 feet of a total of 100-foot wide easement there. That's private easements over each of those parcels of land. And we split the cost with her, and I have the receipt actually. I think it was around $12,000. And we put asphalt from basically Piper up there at the four-way corner, all the way down Sky King. And at that time, we stopped it at the western edge of the B lot that's now belongs to Cox. And then, but the 100-foot wide taxiway easement was always there on paper. And then when Tom Dye first acquired his lot, which is now labeled on here as the Robert Fisher lot, he wanted to be next door to Chip McCormick. So he did a swap with the then owner of the Whidden lot, as it's marked on here. And I believe that was Mark McDonald. And they agreed to swap lots if Tom Dye would improve the lots and extend the asphalt taxiway down to that blue area on this diagram, which is the easement road. Then when I commenced my new development, Spicewood Airport Estates, I continued the asphalt taxiway and concrete valley gutters across that easement blue area into the 7-lot development, another estimated 120 linear feet. So that's kind of the background on how Sky King came to be. The SAPA, the Airport Association, they actually don't have any ownership of any of the Sky King taxiway, although I think some of the owners may have granted them easements of use to that entity. I don't know which ones have granted them easements of use, but where Sky King taxiway lies is on private, each of those private landowners, basically the front 50 feet up to the center line of the taxiway. So hopefully that kind of outlines exactly what's going on here.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that background. And so now I think we ought to shift over to Ms. Nippa, who's the attorney representing the Spicewood Airport Pilots Association, and who has made this request. And so, Ms. Nippa, I'd like, if you could, describe where exactly the proposed fence, gate, chain, I'm not sure what it is you all prefer, and how that relates to the water company's property interest.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez, and I appreciate having the opportunity to appear before the board and explain our request further. Is it possible to do a share screen to allow me to show you what I originally included with the letter, just so the board can see? There are a couple of different maps that I have to show the course of development.
Troop, can you allow Ms. Nipa to share her screen?
Sure, let me
stop. I'll stop my share.
let's see. You might be able just to do it straight from the screen down at the bottom. Or you
Yes.
know-
There we go.
There we go, you got it.
Okay. This is the exhibit A I sent originally, and this is essentially the same thing as y'all were just seeing previously and that Mr. Van Eman was describing. I've got it color coded in orange instead, and that's the road that is owned by the water board. And I just wanted to kind of orient y'all there. You've seen this part here is where Sky King was originally paved, and it's a 100-foot wide taxiway that allows aircraft to enter onto the various taxiways to allow it to go to the runway. So a while back, and this I believe is in 2017, you have the Sky King easement here, still kind of marked in pink. And here are the various lots. You can see the real world picture of what these lots look like. There are two hangars, and Mr. Van Eman's correct in that reciprocal easements were granted to allow use of this section of the easements that were on the Cox and Chapman properties. During the course of there also was a fence, portions of a fence running along here and a gate that restricted access to this part of the water board's property that during the course apparently was removed, and so as were portions of the fence. Also, as you can see, a road was constructed from Mr. Van Eman's development across your road and then across this portion of the paving road and extended, I guess, in an effort to create a 100-foot wide taxiway all the way that would allow folks from this development to access the airport facilities. And this gave us some concern, gave the airport concern, because it was unable to control access to people who aren't members of this Spicewood Airport Pilots Association. And the proposition was, well, how do we solve this problem? Well, we thought there might be a synchronicity of interest, that the water board might prefer to have access to its property gated and secured, and also have the requisite fencing in that previously existed. And SAPA, the Spicewood Airport Pilots Association, was interested in creating a gate, so a security gate, so that folks wanting to exit this way and use the utility road for access out of the airport can use it because they'd have a code. But folks who weren't authorized to enter the airport, weren't members of the Spicewood Airport Pilots Association, would not be able to do that. It's about maintaining security of the airport and the integrity and security of the airport.
If I may, address the fence that is between, the fence was not on the south side of the Sky King taxiway. There was no fence. There's just a ditch there. There was a partial fence on the north side of Sky King taxiway that my father installed in 1997 when he and my mom bought the property. And that fence also took a right-hand turn at the boat shed property there and went across the northern boundary of our property. And so, yes, during the course of construction, I removed that fence because it was already falling down, number one. Number two, it was going to interfere with taxi traffic. And number three, we own the fence. We can do anything we want with the fence. And the reality is that I'm getting ready to install new fencing that separates the Van Eman tracks C and D from the water company's owned property. Now, as for the gate that went across that water company road, that gate had been previously run down and destroyed. It was laying on the ground with weeds growing up through it for years. It was the gate that was, I guess, gating the Windermere Property Owner Association boat trailer parking lot there. And and there was all kinds of debris and junk that had been dumped back there, I guess, after after someone had run the gate down. And then I believe somebody had all that mess cleaned up and hauled off. And so they would have hauled off all the posts and gates from that area. But again, the fact remains is that, you know, whoever is proposing to put up a fence across Sky King right there, it's a malicious attempt at somehow undermining or blocking my new development. And I mean, that's just not, you can't do that. You can't block my easement. I have a legal easement. And Ms. Canepa, if she has researched the deeds on our properties over there, she will see that that easement, the use of it is in our deeds.
Okay, so we're not going to try this as to who's got deeds and what have you. I wanted the information to be present to the board as to the layout of the land. We're not making decisions on this tonight. The main thing that I want to try to understand tonight from Ms. Nipa is what you think would be a compelling interest for the water company to put up the gate that you've proposed.
The gate to the Spicewood Airport and Pilots Association?
Whatever gate you're proposing us to put across Sky King.
Well, the problem that's been created by the whole existence of this utility road, although it's not beneficial use clearly, is that now it allows, because this roadway was extended without your permission. I respectfully disagree with Mr. Van Eman that he had permission to pave over your property owned by you. It's created a problem now that people who aren't part of the airport association can access the airport. So you have a property interest in that somebody's invaded your property interest. And we thought that might be of interest to you. Really what-
Ma'am, excuse me.
Finish, Mr. Van Eman. I know you've had plenty of time to talk, and I know you'll have
Okay, well, but you're misspeaking to the board. I paved over a road and utility easement. And so long as I don't construct any vertical improvements, so long as I just install paving on a road easement, that is lawful.
Well,
Also, I'd like for you to confirm to the board that you've seen my deeds and you see that I have easement.
take that up with.
Mr. Eman,
But anyway,
let Ms.
back to my point, which is this creates a nuisance in terms of access to your property also. You've got this ungated portion up to your property that's not being protected. You've got what is now created an attractive nuisance, which is we've had problems with runway incursions, vehicles that aren't supposed to be there. You know, you shouldn't have automotive vehicles on a runway. It's a security issue. The true interest of the water board is really in preserving the integrity of its property rights and preserving its access, restricting access to its property. And I guess that's it. And I think there's a broader